For the second day in a row, we have another OpTic Chicago team scrim against the Florida Mutineers, and today we're going to be watching OpTic play on the map Garrison. So just a little bit of kind of a background here. This is a map that they've struggled on quite a bit. So when it comes to their scrims against Dallas and against Atlanta, they've been able to hang on some of the bigger maps where they can really utilize their advantages, not necessarily their advantages, but it just seems like their strengths might be at that AR position. So when it gets into some of these smaller maps, this is where they need to do a little bit of catch up, at least in terms of the other teams that they're playing against. They just scrimmed Florida like 3 or 4 days ago, and this map didn't really go well for them. So this is, if you are a Chicago fan, this is a little bit encouraging because they do play pretty well on this map overall. So currently, right now, we're inside of the P1 hardpoint. There's only a few seconds left, 7 seconds left. It's about to rotate over towards P2. Now, as it goes towards P2, you do want to push out the left-hand side of the map here, and it looks like there is somebody back there. So Dashu was able to get a 2-piece right here towards bricks, and you can see, if you're looking at the mini-map, Formal is also back there. So Formal rotated early through that back spawn, and now as SCUMP went down, you can see that he's spawning back here. So really, overall right there, just a nice job of Formal pushing out the back, and as he pushed out the back, Dashu was able to get a 2-piece inside of bricks that opened up the spawn. Now, again, you have to do more than just get those spawns, right? You do have to get those kills to get inside of that hard point, and so far, if you're a Florida fan, that was a fantastic hold. And that's something that you're going to see a lot on these maps in Black Ops Cold War, is that even if you're coming from the bad side, there's enough head glitches and power positions where you can still hold those from the bad side of the map. So we'll go ahead, we'll break that down in a second, but again, if you're Chicago, now you're kind of spawning out. So it's about to pop P3, which is on the right-hand side of the map, and SCUMP just spawned over towards P5. We'll see if he stays there. Yeah, I kind of figured that as he came up, they would get this spawn. But overall, Florida's doing a nice job. For the way that this score ends up being, they're doing a really nice job of just getting spawns, and then when they don't have spawns, killing when they're spawning out. So at that point, SCUMP gets that kill right there on Awakening, and you can see that he immediately turns around and starts to watch this vent room just because they know that they have spawns in the back. So as soon as you can confirm that you have those back spawns, SCUMP gets the kill, he turns around, and he can watch the choke point coming from mid-map. He doesn't quite have his choke behind him. Yeah, I mean, while he was looking there for like 8 or 9 seconds, that could have been pretty bad had he not really watched his back. He could have died from behind, but nice job there from Awakening, just watching the push through vents. With 4 seconds left, we basically have a tie ball game. It's about to pop over towards the right-hand side, and P4 on this hill is very much so like P1. It's one of those hills where you can hold from either side. There's enough head glitches, and there's enough power positions where you can hold P4 from either side, and then P5 obviously is on the left-hand side, so you want to make sure that eventually here, 25-30 seconds left, you're pushing through over towards the left-hand side of the map so that you can capture those spawns. So I will say, with that entrance right there, SCUMP was able to get basically just 1 kill. He was able to get 1 kill inside of the hill on Havoc, and as soon as he got that kill, it just flipped them out, and they took over the hardpoint. So normally, when you see pushing up towards this P4 hardpoint, there's so much happening on the ground right inside this hardpoint because there's so many boxes and head glitches and power positions that seemed a lot easier than what you're going to find most of the time. Now, the big part of that could be that a lot of Florida skies in particular were probably watching the push through P5, which is where you see SCUMP right now. Formal actually pushed through from P3 back to P5. As soon as P4 flipped, he pushed out that back spawn so that they could grab those spawns, but at some point in time, he must have went down because they don't have those spawns. But again, this is another one of those instances where we talk about there are so many hills in Black Ops Cold War in general where this isn't the spawn that you necessarily want, but there's a couple power positions and only a couple choke points where if you're just watching, like right there, the push through ADOM, you basically are going to be able to hold that hill. It's just, it's really odd. And you just saw, I think that was Formal sitting up top bridge. He's top bridge. He's kneeled down there. He's got a heady. You can watch the push through Adom. I mean, it really is. It's easier than what you normally see. But with that, let's go ahead and let's pause this. Let's bring up our mini map for the first time, just so you guys can kind of get an idea of what we were talking about there. So we talked from P1, P2, P3 to P4. We talked about how when it comes to P4 and P1, these are hills that are pretty contested, but essentially what we saw on that first set of rotations is that inside of P2, Chicago had that back spawn. Chicago was spawning here, but they weren't able to get through this choke point and this choke point right here through bricks. So even though they had these spawns, they would run through these lanes right here, and they couldn't necessarily get up in towards P2. And we essentially saw the same thing when it came to P5. So in P5, Chicago was spawning out this side of the map, but you had, I think it was Formal or Dashy, one of them were up here on top bridge watching this choke. You have an SMG, I believe it was Envoy, watching this push through this side choke. Scump was inside of hill, and the other person was over here towards P2 watching this push through Adom and watching this push through bricks. I mean, you watch these choke points here. How is Florida going to be able to come from their spawn and push in when they have to? And you see this a lot in these Black Ops Cold War maps. You kind of have these no man's lands right here. So if they're getting that back spawn at some point in time, if they don't get those kills before they enter that area of the map, they're going to become exposed. And as soon as that happens, those that are inside the hill can get those kills before they're able to get in and contest. And that's a lot of what we saw there towards the end of P5 and also towards P2. So with about 3 seconds left inside this P5 hardpoint, now P1's in the middle. That was an odd spawn, by the way. It looks like Skies and Scum both just kind of spawned there. But that's not all bad, right? Because if you're Scum, then you probably ended up spawning a little bit closer. Now, as it goes towards P2, you do want to be holding that left-hand side of the map. So it hurts them in terms of spawns moving forward. But it essentially put him a little bit closer to the hill. And Scump's just frying right now. Those are big kills. He does end up going double positive in this game. So I think it's like 33 and 17, 35 and 17. He's on a bloodthirsty right now. One thing that we've seen, and I just want to touch on the guns that he's using real quick. One thing that we've seen is that a lot of the other fast SMGs are using the AK-74U, such as what Envoy's using right here. And Scum's still using the MP5. So be interesting to see if that's just a gun that he feels a little bit more comfortable with. It has the same fire rate as the MP5 from last year's game. So obviously he used it for an entire year. But it's just interesting to see how the meta is going to change here as we're only a couple weeks into the game, really. But with that, we've got a 100-point lead, 187 to 73. So let's go ahead. One thing about scrims is I do like to let you guys listen in and hear what they're talking about. And from that, we can also break down like what they're trying to do and where they're trying to go. So with that, let's go ahead. Let's listen into their team comms as we get a little bit further into this next set of rotations.
Yep.
I'll get your small, get your small. Wait, Seth has it, I think.
Top cat, top cat.
Yo, top cross the...
Caesar's cat.
Remember, on this next hill, I'll rotate through
Yo,
plat.
I'm gonna go
right.
I'm going to the right, I'm going to the right.
Top green Caesar.
Dead.
Nice.
You can go, Seth, if you want.
You can go, Seth.
Low left. Outside green. I'm playing right. One's low left green, though.
Yeah, in the corner, Colt weak, and one's back there mid. He's under bottom mid, Colt.
Every kill you get will
pushed our
spawn about
middle.
here.
I'm going to hold and spawn
Spawn a pop.
Alright, spawn in the back.
I'm dead.
They just talked about strategy a little bit. We'll break that down at the end of this game because that was an interesting little tidbit there.
Dead.
That's him.
One was deep mid
I
slack.
hit far right hill.
Slack was back middle.
One shot on time.
I'm playing from platform. Close mid slack. Bottom mid slack. He's their side mid.
Bottom mid not peeking me.
I'm being annoying.
Bottom mid slack.
Back right,
Close
box.
hill weak, Colt.
I don't
Close
know
hill
where
weak.
mid
There's
went
yo,
either.
I don't know where
caution and hill. Caution
slack dead. That's slack.
He shot me on time. Cool. He's...
In the back.
we can
One on time and one
Both one shot in hill.
caution.
They're still spawning back.
My bad. I should have went back.
Caution, wait, caution weak. He's going to
He's
plat.
back in one shot.
Start worrying about left. Worry about left. Or right, sorry,
plat.
right.
Yeah, we're about right. I spawned it all.
There's two hitting right already.
On the steps, dead. One more vent.
I have vent. You can push up top, Seth.
Could be in vent.
I need
Yeah,
it.
where are we spawning them? I think there's 20 P2.
Vent.
Spawn behind me. Spawn behind me. Old. You're good.
Okay.
You're good.
There might be
Yeah,
one
play the
green.
caution, play caution,
There might be
caution.
one
Yeah.
green, guys.
As this map goes on, you can hear a little bit
Low mid.
in terms of the evolution of strategy on this map. What happened there in P3 and also what they're guarding here in P4. We're going to break that down in just a second. So stick with us once this is over. Looks like we've just got a few seconds here. One more second, and right there it is. So you can see SCUMP ends up going 33 and 17, ends up going double positive. I think Formal was pretty big there also. Formal had 5K damage, so good map out of him. But one thing that I want to show you guys here is the advancement from P2 to P3, and then also what they were trying to set up inside of P4. So I don't know if you heard that, but Sender is talking kind of in the background there. So Sender is their coach, telling them what to focus on. So we're inside of P2. P2 is coming to the close, and we heard them say to rotate through platform over to right. So what that means is if you're looking to go to P3, a lot of times what you're looking for is a push through P4, or at least what you might think is the best strategy moving forward is to push through P4, get into garage, try to sneak in here, and then if you can get back here, you can get these spawns, right? The problem is, again, like we talked about in P5, there's a ton of no man's land right here. If you have a really skilled AR from Florida sitting on one of these head glitches, it's going to be almost impossible to get through there. Also, as we go towards P4, remember, this doesn't really necessarily matter which side you hold P4 from. So just to kind of break everything down, what you saw instead of that push through P4 around through garage, you saw Chicago elect to go up towards platform, which is right here, go across the bridge, and then hit it from the right side, which means if they're looking towards P3, the right side. So if we're coming here, now all of a sudden you can get inside of this P1 area. You can try to get kills here. You saw SCUMP come down a couple times right there against Awakening. He lost a couple there. And you can also push through vent rooms. And the way that this helps you is that now all of a sudden, those players from Florida that might be on head glitches in these areas of the map, I mean, if you have a main AR in one of these areas, they're probably not going to lose these gun battles if they're already set up on head glitches. Whereas if you're pushing through and you have an SMG here by P1, they have an SMG there, that's basically a 50-50 gun battle. Same with over here in vent room. You have an SMG there, they have an SMG here. That's essentially a 50-50 gun battle. And you might not get inside of P3 and actually earn time there, but what you can do is you can just be a nuisance. You can just be annoying, like you heard SCUMP say, and just try to stop them from getting time. And then as it rotated over towards P4, again, another thing that you heard them say is that once they were inside of P4, you heard them say to watch right. So they push up over towards bridge. And if you're Florida, you're trying to get inside of P4, you have P3, well, you're probably not going to backtrack and come all the way over here, right? If you're trying to get towards P4, then you might run towards P1 and come this way, or you might come through vent room, try to get to bridge, because once you get to bridge, you can kind of shoot down inside of P4. So what they did and what they were super successful at is they just pushed up over towards platform. They were in platform. They pushed across bridge, and you saw SCUMP get a kill here. You saw him jump down, and then Envoy was also watching the push through vents right here. So you saw them watch the push as they tried to execute a flank, because essentially if this went to P5, then Florida could also leave P3 over here. They could get through vents and then push out P5. Now they have spawns for P5. So if that rotation is from P3 to P4 and you don't have those back spawns for P3, watch the push through P1. Now all of a sudden you can get time inside of P4 and you can still control spawns for P5. So really, it just shows the advancement of the strategy, the evolution of the strategy on a map like this, because initially what you were trying to do when this game first came out is push that right side of the map, get those spawns for P3, and then you could also use those spawns to get P4, but the problem is that if you're inside of P4, you're now looking up on platform, and those can be tough kills to get because you don't control the engagement. So really interesting to see how this map is evolving over time. But with that, guys, if you're new around here, make sure you go ahead and hit that subscribe button. This is what I do every single day. I take a peek at a different scrim. Today we're doing OpTic. We just so happen to have other teams that are scrimming. Yesterday we did a nuke, or a Huke the Nuke breakdown. So we had Dallas versus Atlanta. So more teams this year. So if you're new, make sure you go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Make sure you leave a like before you head on the way. It really helps out the channel. And with that, guys, thank you so much. We will see you in tomorrow's upload.